children are continuing to live in situations like that, and we need to make sure that as a global community of people who are aware of social justice causes and who care about human rights, we need to be active. We need to increase awareness of what's happening not only in Sri Lanka but also in other parts of the world, and be those strong advocates for all of these children, women, seniors, everybody who's being put in situations like this.
Yes, he mentioned that, as continuation for his question, he mentioned that after 2009, so that means after the war. So you mentioned about 2,000 young kids are missing. Is that right? After the war or before the war? Because he said it's after 2009. So you mentioned they are also on the list for 2000.
I'm not sure. All I know is
before the war or after the war?
I'm not sure. All I know is that in a conversation in passing, he mentioned that they have a list of 2,000 children. I don't know if it was before or after, what the time period is. We'll have to get in contact with Father Sitsabaiesan and his organization to find out.
We had another question up here at the front.
I'm with the Scarborough Mirror. Can you describe the moment where you were given the impression that the government had an arrest warrant in your name, and do you think that these people from the government were giving you a deliberately false impression of what they were doing?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike, for that. So I was visiting an orphanage. This is an orphanage where there's more than 500 young children are living in, where they've lost their mother, they've lost their father, they've lost both their parents, or they've been abandoned by their parents for one reason or another. And this is in the area called Klinoji, that this orphanage is based. And luckily, this orphanage has 3 different sites: their head office, the girls' hostel area, and the boys' hostel area. So I started off at the head office, went to the girls' hostel, and then went to the boys'. And when I was at the boys' and I was on my way back to the head office, because I had personally sponsored lunch that day, and because I wanted to have lunch with all of the children. And I was on my way to have lunch with all the children when we got a phone call from the orphanage to the director from the orphanage who was showing me around. He got a phone call saying that a large battalion, like a group of army officers or government officers had showed up, including a high-level person from Colombo with the immigration division, had showed up saying they had an arrest warrant in their hand and they wanted to arrest me. They knew that I was there and asked the orphanage to produce me. And when I got this phone call, I got another driver for hire and we left, because we literally raced away and got back to my hotel room, because I wasn't going to get arrested in front of these 500 children, more than 500 children. These children are children of war. These children have already been through enough trauma, and from the time that I spent with them, that was the time that I was the most happy while I was on the island, because my friends that were there with me were like, if the children weren't literally holding you down, you were probably going to be floating. Like, that's how happy I was spending time with these children, because I saw hope. I saw hope in these children's eyes, and I saw the future of that country. And I was not going to be there and allow them to arrest me in front of these children and burst some of that hope that these children had in their eyes and in their hearts. And so I raced away, went back to the hotel, and on the way I called the Canadian High Commission, I called Thomas Mulcair, the leader of the NDP, and I called Paul Dewar, and we got the balls in motion, I guess, and with respect to finding out whether in reality there was an arrest warrant in my name or not. That night was New Year's Eve, and overnight a lot of people here in Canada and at the Canadian High Commission were working, and only New Year's morning did I get confirmation from the Canadian High Commission officers, the consular officers there, that said that They had contacted all 4 divisions, the local police, the criminal intelligence division, the terrorist intelligence division, as well as the central immigration division, and all 4 divisions said that there was no arrest warrant in my name. Only after I got that confirmation did I feel safe enough for me to leave my hotel room. So either, to go back and answer your question, so either the day before in Klinochi when they showed up and said they had an arrest warrant, or the next day when they said they didn't have an arrest warrant in my name, only one of those could have been truth. And that's all we can say. I don't want to speculate as to why they showed up saying there was an arrest warrant, or if the arrest warrant disappeared. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. All I can say is when I sought the clarification was given to the Canadian High Commission from all 4 divisions that there was no arrest warrant in my name. Only after that I felt safe to leave my hotel room, because there were intelligence people parked outside of my hotel as well, and constantly trying to find out if I was in my room or not. And only when I felt safe I left, and that day was when I went to the ice factory and then had the interrogation by the immigration division.
Can I ask you what you think they were trying to do by interrogating you at that
I can't hear you, sorry.
What were they trying to do you think, by talking to you at the factory, interrogating you there?
It was absolute intimidation, because they were following us very closely and very obviously for quite a while. When there's like 6 motorbikes and 3 cars, or an SUV and 2 cars following you, I had a whole motorcade. I didn't ask for this motorcade, but I had it. They were following me for quite a while, all day, every day, and I went inside this side little room to go change my shirt, because I was eating while we were driving in the car and I spilled food all over me, so I went to go change. This is why we stopped at the ice factory, and because it's owned by my friend's family, I knew it was a safe place. And I went in to change, and my friend came and got me and said, "Oh, hold on, there's somebody who wants to talk to you." I was like, "Oh, who?" And they put me into this little room, an office room, and 3 of them, and 2 of them were big men, and they're just in a semicircle around me, blocking the door, standing in a very intimidating manner, and they had on their notebook written down every single detail of what I had done in that country since I got into the country. Oh, on this day, at this time, you went here with this person. Why did you go talk to that person? This day you went to here, who is this person? What's their contact information, and what's their exact name? And you shouldn't be doing this. And I was like, why shouldn't I be talking to the question that the gentleman had asked about me visiting the bishop? Why did you go visit the bishop? Because he's a bishop. And when else do you get an opportunity to meet a bishop at their sanctuary? I've never met a bishop before in my life, and thought it was an interesting thing to do. And this is what tourists do, is things that they think are interesting in the country, they go and visit. And the IDP camp, why did you go to the IDP camp? Because I think it's an interesting place to go visit. On my way to my mom's town was this IDP camp, and I felt it was important for me to go and visit it. When I went to the Dominican Republic, I don't hang around in the resort all day, every day. I actually leave the resort and go see what's happening in the country and visit the reality of life in those countries. When I went to Turkey, I didn't just stay in my hotel room for the conference. I left and went into Istanbul city and saw what the people live life like. That's what people who visit countries do. They visit and see what's happening in the country, and these immigration officers didn't seem to like that I was doing that. I guess they wanted me to stay within the compounds of my hotel and call that a visit to the country. I'm not sure what they wanted, but that's not why I went. I went to visit my place of birth, reconnect with my roots, find my family, find the house that I grew up in, or the houses that I grew up in, and really be able to connect with my sisters and brothers back home what their experience is in life. And truly my experience there can never be what their real experience was. Because I know that I'm privileged. As a Canadian and as a member of Parliament, I know that I'm privileged and probably had it very easy. The people who are living there on a day-to-day basis don't have the opportunity, don't have the option of leaving that country. And they have to, I'm sure that my experience, like I said before, was just the tip of the iceberg of what their real experience is. And that's what this experience has taught me, is that I've only had a little taste of what their experience is like.
Can I also ask, what do you think our government in Canada's attitude to the present Sri Lankan government should be?
Well, first of all, I want to thank our government, our ministers, Baird and Yelich, who showed that no matter what here in this country, we have our debates, we have our fights and fisticuffs, but really, when it came to safety, I want to say thank you to the minister for having my back and ensuring that the High Commission went into full gear to do what they needed to do to make sure my safety, to ensure my safety. But the government, Canadian government, what they should be doing is continuing in their new position that they've taken. I mean, a few years ago they had no position on Sri Lanka, and they went to saying we're not sure, and then finally they were, because of a lot of the pressure that the NDP gave, they finally took a strong position of boycotting CHOGA, which is a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that took place in Sri Lanka. The importance of the CHOGA meeting is that where the country that hosts that meeting becomes the head of the Commonwealth for the following 2 years. And Canada, I wish, would have requested to move that location so that Sri Lanka doesn't have the presidency, but that's too late now. I thank the government for at least taking the step of our Prime Minister not going, but of course he did send his representative, the Parliamentary Secretary, in his stead. But moving forward, what we do need, what the NDP has been calling for from day one, and from what I've talked to on the ground in Sri Lanka with people, is they're asking for the same thing, is for an independent, impartial, international inquiry to the war crimes, crimes against humanity that are ongoing in that country, that happened for many years, the last phase of the war, and are continuing to happen. That there needs to be an independent inquiry, and it needs to be headed by the United Nations, and all countries that are that are member states need to pressure the United Nations to have that independent inquiry. That's, I think, paramount. That's number one of what everybody would be requesting, is because in order for people to move forward, in order for true reconciliation, you need to have truth. So without truth that comes out of this investigation, you can't have reconciliation. And it's about time that people living on that island live in a respectable way with peace and justice.
So, are there any more questions? We could take maybe one or two more.
Excuse me, madam. Could you able to see the schools functioning normally where the places you have visited, or not functioning completely?
I didn't see any schools. I didn't visit any schools during the time I was in Sri Lanka. I did go over the Christmas break.
Okay.
So Christmas New Year break. So none of the schools were operational when I went. I didn't actually see any schools. So there aren't too many schools. It's not like there's how it is here, where there's a small community and there's a school in it. Right. What I do know is that children have to travel far to get to schools. So I don't know all the details. When I was in India, though, I did visit a school that's run for Dalit children, because I really wanted to visit this school, because the Dalit people are who are classified as the untouchable people, and these children are traditionally not allowed, not given the opportunity, not given access to education, and It's actually a group of Canadians who had helped fund the school, and a group of people locally who were running it. And I really wanted to go visit the school, and I had an opportunity to visit that school where there's over 400 children now who are having education in English and in Tamil in India for the Dalit children. And it was really another ray of hope, seeing the children at the orphanage in Kilinochchi and seeing the Dalit children at the school were two rays of hope for the future of the Tamil people in general.
So we'll take one more question and then I think we'll...
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, we'll take these last two.